All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Sweat the Bet podcast. I am one of your hosts, Andrew Kim, a.k.a. the Parlay Doc on Twitter. And here's my co-host, Matt Modi. Looks like we're rocking with, is it Jedi Modi now? Is that what we're going with, Matt?
I think so. I mean, we had the sneak preview. We had someone email in. He had a question for Jedi, aka Modi. So that seems to be sticking, but we'll just have to see we'll have to see how it goes. We can't. It's too early in the season. We're not gonna celebrate regular season victories. We still need to see how it goes and if Jedi sticks. But early momentum towards Jedi, I would say.
Gotcha. So, and for those of you who are joining, guys, the Sweat the Bet podcast is brought to you by oddsjam.com. Our sponsors, OddsJam. If you are a sports bettor, you have to check out oddsjam.com because basically they provide you with just easy to use and essential tools, in my opinion. So you will get things like positive EV alerts for positive expected value lines. So you can have the best chance possible of getting the best value, really, to help you set yourself up to remain profitable in the long run and increase the probability of that. They have easy bet tracker, guys, very simple to use. Bet tracking is a must, okay? They have arbitrage, bet alerts. They have all kinds of things. So please check out oddsjam.com. We also have the OddsJam player prop tool on the iOS App Store. Price is absolutely free. So nothing to lose, guys. Absolutely free. Go check it out. And that's our sponsor, oddsjam.com. And look, today, guys, we have a lot to talk about. We are going to be talking about the AFC. So NFL, AFC, we're going to go division by division. And Matt and I are going to talk about who we feel are the favorites that are likely to win each division, give a few key points of why, maybe talk about a few of the sleepers or maybe dark horses that maybe have a chance to sneak a victory and win the division. So we're going to be going over AFC. We're going to try to preview a couple of best bets. So we got a lot in store, guys. So stick along. Today's going to be an NFL-focused AFC division analysis from us, guys. So let's kick it off with our traditional sweat or no sweat commentary to kick off the show. So I'll kick it off, Matt. So in light of the scary, Zach Wilson freak kind of injury incident that happened, and luckily it sounds like, fortunately, of course, no one wants injuries. We want to see players healthy. We want to see the best players play. So it sounds like, fortunately, it wasn't some kind of season-ending injury. But from the latest I read, they said that, he may be out for about 4 weeks tentatively, probably slated to already miss the season opener versus the Ravens. So it looks like it's going to be Joe Flacco time.
My guy, former Eagle legend, Joe Flacco.
Exactly. Go. Big game, Joe Flacco time. So here's my no sweat for you. Because look, man, that was a crazy run in that year, with the Ravens. So, Joe Flacco, though, has not secured a W since 2019. So let me give you a hypothetical here. Okay. Let's say the Jets want to be conservative. They don't want to risk rushing back their future franchise star. So let's give Flacco 2 starts. Okay.
2 starts.
Let's assume. So game 1, they're going to play the Ravens. All right. I'm just going to tell you right now, that's an L. Okay. It's more game 2. Game 2, they will face the Browns. Okay. Joe Flacco will rise up and lead the Jets and grab his first W since 2019 with the Jets in week 2 versus the Browns.
That's tough because, I've talked so much about hating both of these teams.
Yes, and that's why I picked this just for you.
That is tough. I will say I have been banging the drum that Zach Wilson stinks. So I think it's a win-win situation if I say no sweat on this one. Basically means the Browns stink, lose to the Jets, but I can also claim victory in that Zach Wilson stinks, that they're better off with Joe Flacco. So for my personal brand, I think it's the best case scenario if I'm going no sweat there. But absolutely, come on. The Browns are going to be a total train wreck this year. It's going to be an abomination. People are already chanting at Deshaun Watson during games, "You sick fuck." We'll have to mark this one as as R-rated for for the listeners. I personally think we should chant "No means no" at Deshaun Watson. I think that would cut a little bit deeper, but we don't have to get into that. But either way, I am going no sweat on that one. I think a Jets Week 2 victory over the Browns is perfect.
Yes, let's go, Joe Flacco. All right. I like rooting for those flash in the pan. I mean, look, he's a Super Bowl winner. I mean, these flash in the pan like veterans. Like I love the Fitzmagic, so I'm gonna root for Joe Flacco pretty hard that week too, if they even get that far and let him play week 2.
If he plays,
if he even does it, yeah. So, all right, what do you got for me, Matt? What do you got?
All right, so I was doing a deep dive on Mahomes for just a player prop future specific article, and I led a certain way. And my sweat or no sweat to you is Mahomes. If you compare his stats this year compared to his previous 4 years, we'll see no significant statistical drop off this season without Tyreek Hill. Basically saying when we look back at the end of the year, we're comparing stats. It's going to be the same old Patrick Mahomes.
Oh man. I'm gonna go no sweat. And here's why. I mean, obviously, look, who wants to lose a top tier elite weapon like Tyreek Hill? No, of course no one wants to. But I do think there were stints in last season, and maybe it's my own jaded memory or something, but where Mahomes just didn't look like himself. So I don't even know if he had the most stellar, season per se from a statistical standpoint in terms of, his QB ratings, whatever. So I mean, I think there's room for improvement from what happened last year, and it's multifactorial. It's not just on him, but and I just think with their system and with the coaching and with the schemes, obviously, I don't know if you can necessarily replace Hill's skill set per se 1-to-1, but look, he's still going to have weapons, and I think with their system and their familiarity and the continuity, I feel like you're not going to see much of a drop off. He is a superstar. He's solid, and I think he's going to it's just going to be a continuous progression of him just having a solid year. So I'd say no sweat on that one.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, I would say I did the research. Like he's played 6 games or 5 games without Tyreek Hill. One of them was his first career start ever in like a meaningless Week 17 game. So you can kind of take that one out.
Sure.
So 4 legitimate starts. 4 legitimate starts without Tyreek Hill. It all happened in 2019, so a couple of years ago. But like against the Raiders, 445 yards, 4 touchdowns. Against the Ravens, 375 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kind of a fluky game against the Lions where he threw for over 300 yards but didn't throw for a touchdown. It was like a weird. I think he ran in for one, and like the Chiefs had a defensive touchdown. So just a fluky game, but like just putting up monster stats without Tyreek Hill. Now, granted, we've never seen it for a full year, which is going to be a mystery. But I think I trust Andy Reid. I trust offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. Obviously, Mahomes is an absolute superstar, and like they don't have no weapons. Like their weapons are better than what the Packers have without Devontae Adams. Juju,
yeah, absolutely. Juju,
Kelsey. Like first round pick Sky Moore. Who else did they get? There's one other one whose name. Oh, I mean MVS, who like he's fine, but then Kelsey and then another running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I came out of that article pretty pro Mahomes just from doing the research. So I'm glad that we agree there.
I'd agree. And and he's so, I mean, I hope he has a good year. I mean, it's NFL is much better when you're seeing that offense operate beautifully. So it's just, I hope we see that. So
yeah, I agree.
Cool. All right. Well, look, guys, we usually always have this as an open invitation, and we're glad that we have a mailbag question. So for those of you out there who have been following us, even when we were on the previous YouTube channel, on the main Odds Jam channel, we appreciate those of you who followed over to our new YouTube channel, our standalone channel. For new listeners who are tuning in, we appreciate you guys as subscribers, as followers, for people who've been commenting. We love it, guys. So we want to just make sure you know that we have a mailbag segment. So if you ever want to send questions in, just funny questions, personal questions, questions about betting, picks or leans, whatever, send them in. So this week we got a question from Scott Bardos. So shout out to Scott. We appreciate you sending in some questions. So looks like he sent a couple questions for both of us. So I'll read the questions he had that are posed to you, and then I'll let you read off the other ones. So these were questions for Matt, sent by Scott. So it says, "Yo, Jedi Modi, what is your favorite anime character and why?"
Before we answer the question, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but the email address is just sweatthebetoj@gmail.com. If people do want to send mailbag questions, sweatthebetoj@gmail.com. So great question right off the bat. I have not been shy about my anime fandom. There's a poster on the other side, literally, of one of my favorite animes, Naruto. My two favorite, and I don't know if you're an anime guy, also, if you have any idea what I'm talking about, but I know
Naruto, but unfortunately, I'm like the one Asian who's not into anime.
I'm actually newly getting into anime, so I can't claim that it's like been like my whole life or anything. But my two favorite animes are Naruto and Full Metal Alchemist, two legendary animes. Those are also like really popular. It's not like they're both chalky picks. But my favorite character in Full Metal was Ling. He was awesome before he got overtaken, like before greed, like he accepted greed. It sounds like a weird rape thing when you describe it, but for those of you who watched it, like Ling eventually was overtaken by greed, but I thought he was an awesome character. And then in Naruto, chalky pick, but Sasuke, just awesome. So cool. Everybody loves Sasuke. And then outside of him, my top three to round it out, Shikamaru and then Kakashi for my top three. But my favorite one of all of them, I'll have to go with Sasuke. Just an awesome character.
All right. And Matt has just proven he's more Asian than I am. All right. Next question from Scott for you. Were you happier when the Phillies won the World Series or when the Eagles won the Super Bowl?
So this was a pretty easy. It was Eagles, not even close. I was at the Super Bowl when the Eagles won.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I went with my mom. I was actually, so my dad went to UNC, so I'm like a little bit of a UNC for college basketball fan. I was actually happier when UNC won the title back in 2016, 2017 than I was when the Phillies won. I do like the Phillies, but I wouldn't call myself a diehard Phillies specific fan. I mean, I got an Eagles hat on. I got an Eagles poster in the background, so definitely lean towards Eagles on that one.
All right. And then besides the obvious for infinite supply of weed, why did you move to Colorado, Matt? Why did you move to Colorado is what Scott's asking.
That's actually not the reason why. But I mean, I've always fantasized, like my cousin moved out here like 7 or 8 years ago, and I've visited him once a year since then. And I've always kind of fantasized moving out to Colorado just because like I love the outdoors. I love the mountains. I just like love the general vibe over East Coast vibe. I mean, mountain time is the best in terms of time zones because like football games, like NFL starts at 11 a.m. The games end at like 8 p.m. Like back home, they end so late. And finally, like, with COVID, working remote, all that stuff, was able to kind of finally just sacked up and gathered the stones to actually make the move across the country with my girlfriend. So yeah, mostly the mountains, outdoor stuff. And then I really can't complain about the mountain time. I think mountain time is the best time zone for sports watching.
Nice. No, I've been out to Colorado a few times. It's beautiful out there, man. I mean, it'd definitely be one of my places on my, at least in the top few, if I were to move from Chicago. So, that's definitely on one of my lists. It's there, it's Texas, maybe a couple other places, but yeah, definitely Colorado. I love visiting over there. So.
Yeah, well, if you ever make it back to Colorado, you have to do a live in-person episode of us.
Yeah, we should, for real. We should for real, man.
Sounds good. we can get Odds Jam to fund the trip.
Yeah, did you hear that, Alex? No, I'm just kidding. All right.
So I guess I will ask the questions that were asked for you. Number one, Parlay Doc. Are you actually a doctor?
Yeah, I actually am. So, I mean, as fun as it is to talk sports and do content creation for Odds Jam and for other people, yeah, my full-time job is I am a physician. So I'm an MD, and I am a psychiatrist specifically. So I see people and treat them for clinical depression, for addictions, detoxing them when they need to get off of alcohol use, etc. Bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, the whole shebang. So I am a psychiatrist, and that's why I just kind of took on the moniker Parlay Doc just for fun. But yeah, that's what I do full time. That's what pays the bills. It's a fulfilling job. It's kind of a grind in itself, but that's what I do during daytime hours. And at nighttime, when you see my tweets at 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m. Central, that's when I have some spare time. I guess you could call it spare time to do sports related stuff. And that's what I love doing when I have some free time. So, all right, guys. So let's dive into the meat and potatoes, the main part of our show today. Let's go over each of the AFC divisions. Matt and I will talk about who we think is going to win each division, a couple reasons why we're going to fade the other teams, and maybe some sleeper and dark horse picks if any stand out to us. So let's kick it off with some of our probably more straightforward divisions, one of them being, in my opinion, the AFC East. So just as a reminder, we have the Bills, we have the Dolphins, we have the Patriots, and we have the Jets. So I'll kick it off. And this may overlap potentially unless there's a surprise here, but I'm going to say the clear-cut favorite in my mind it's the Bills. And I just think it's a pretty obvious chalky pick, but they're so balanced on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. They obviously have a stud in Josh Allen. Right now, in my mind, Jets, forget him. It's your pipe dream, guys, if you're thinking the Jets have a shot, okay? Patriots, question mark. I think they overperformed. I don't know if Mac Jones is as good as people think he is. I think that, I just question what's going to happen without the OC, and there's a lot up in the air about who's going to be doing the play call. Who knows? I mean, but Belichick is Belichick, so I'm not going to take anything away from him. I just don't know if they have the talent, honestly. Then you talk about the Dolphins. I just don't buy into Tua, honestly. I'm going to keep it as simple as that. I don't think he's a superstar quarterback. They've obviously made upgrades. So I'm not knocking. They're probably going to have a better season. I'm just not a big Tua believer, and for whatever that's worth. And so in my mind, though, it's going to be the Dolphins that are going to be the biggest threat, but they've lost the last 7 times they played the Bills. So if you already account for the fact that at minimum, they would need a split, right, against the Bills to even have a shot. I don't think that's going to happen. So for all those reasons, then they add Von Miller on D. To me, it's just clear cut that the Bills are the clear cut favorite. I can't even say that I think in this division that I personally think there's some dark horse or someone with a legitimate upset chance. So that's my personal take. But what do you think about the AFC East, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the Jets and the Dolphins. I don't think they have a chance. The Bills, I mean, they're the second biggest favorite in all 8 of the divisions to win at minus 230. The only team that has better odds than them is the Bucs at minus 270. So I don't think the Patriots are that good. But are we, to play devil's advocate, looking at some advanced stats, are we sleeping on the Patriots a little bit? I would say, blindly, without having done any research, I'm low on the Patriots. I'm not a Mac Jones believer, but here's what I'll say. So the Patriots last year, they feasted on weak opponents. So I looked it up in games in which they were favored. So only look at games they were favored. They covered by an average of 14 points. So that's not a margin of victory. They literally covered the spread by an average of 14 points. So if their spread was 7, they won by 21. They finished 4th in DVOA last year. Bills were 2. Obviously, the Bills were still really good. But if you look at weighted DVOA, which basically in layman's terms, it values the end of the season more than the beginning, basically telling you, okay, who was playing well at the end of the season? Patriots were number 2 ahead of the Bills. So, and the Patriots, my last point is they have strength of schedule. Where'd that go? I just had that up. They have the 25th. Actually, no, I looked at that wrong. So they actually have a hard strength of schedule. Sorry, I looked at that completely wrong. So they have the 7th hardest strength of schedule. I had that flipped. I thought it was 7th easiest. They
have a pretty tough schedule. That's part of the reason.
So that part of my devil's advocate argument was just totally not a real point because I looked at that. But regardless, everything else I said is still true. So are we sleeping on the Patriots or no? My answer to that, I'm saying no. but I want to at least present the devil's advocate argument.
No. I remember I actually saw those stats, and you're absolutely right. Like the games that they were supposed to win, not only did they win, like you said, I mean,
dominated.
They dominated. And I think that speaks to, their defense. I think it speaks to their scheme. And again, I think the common thread is Bill Belichick. I just think he scheme. And again, I think it's such an easy answer, and people say that's just a cop out. But look, man, he's hate him or love him, he is a damn good coach. Okay, and they run a tight ship over there.
They cheat a lot.
Well, yes. And so you factor that in. So
yeah, but
no. So for all those reasons, like, look, of the three, like I said, the Dolphins won't surprise me with progression. You expect it with all the upgrades they've made. Like, and again, another season under Tua's belt. Like you expect, it's expected. If there were a team that would be, in my opinion, maybe the term overperforming a little bit and getting the most out of the talent they have, it would be the Patriots. So, I don't think they're going to be a legit threat, but like, would it surprise me if they made some kind of run and strung together a bunch of nothing surprises me with Belichick. He turns these like middling average players, and obviously you could say the X factor is Tom Brady, but he finds ways to scheme well to make them shine. I mean, look at we've talked about it before. You take these receivers that look like studs, and then you put them on another team, and I mean, they just look broken essentially, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
what I have to say about the Patriots versus Bills is, I think we saw in the playoff game what happened in the game when you look at the talent disparity. Bills 47-17. I think that says enough. But yeah, I mean, I'm going with the Bills. That's not a strong take. I would, if I had to choose a team, if Josh Allen gets hurt, who is my next in line? I would choose the Patriots over the Dolphins.
Ooh, okay, that's an interesting one. Man,
I just don't believe in Tua's got such a noodle arm. He hasn't shown a single thing in the NFL. He hasn't shown anything. And he does have good weapons. They improve the offensive line. But to me, like, you just can't win. I just don't think you can win with him.
Oh man, I'm gonna agree. Let's say some crazy, and who knows in the NFL. Like,
crazy stuff.
Look at the Ravens last year, right? So if the Bills have some Ravens-esque injury-riddled season and it's just like a wash because of injuries, then I actually would roll with you. I'd say I have more faith in Belichick and his system and getting the most out of it. And look, you've seen some of those games what was that game where like they didn't even have Mac Jones throw the ball more than, what was it, 2 passes?
That was against the Bills. That was the win game. It was when there's insane wins.
It's crazy. I'm not saying that was a great. I'm just saying, like, Belichick's like, I'm willing to do whatever, and think outside the box to just get the most, position myself to try to win. That it's that insanity that I give them the edge over the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins clearly have more weapons and talent and on paper. I just, like you said, it's that weird intangible X factor. I just don't trust Tua for some reason.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong, and that means it'll be a great NFL season because it'll be fun. But
true.
I just think it's going to be ugly at times watching him play. That's my concern with Tua. So.
Yeah, I mean, how much are the Dolphins kicking themselves drafting Tua over Justin Herbert?
Oh God.
Anyways.
All right, so that was an easy one. So let's spice it up a little bit, because I think this one is going to have more chatter. It's the AFC North. Let's move on to that. And as a reminder to those who are kind of picking up on the NFL, we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Browns. So why don't you kick this one off? Who are you liking here and pegging as a winner? Any surprises? What are your thoughts on the AFC North, Matt?
Yeah, I'm going chalk again. The Ravens are the favorite, best odds at +160. Bengals are close at +180. I don't really think the Browns or the Steelers have a chance. So I think this is a 2-team race. I would argue. And the Bengals are a team that I'm fading this year. I think people are a little bit high on them off the Super Bowl berth, but they're only 17th in DVOA last year, and they were 14-7 against the spread. They're top 5 in terms of performance against the spread, and that's never something that's cyclical year over year. It's rare to say, oh, this team was really good against the spread last year. You know what I mean? Like, that stuff is cyclical year to year.
Sure.
And the Ravens were leading that division until Lamar Jackson got hurt. I think, and then we've talked a ton about the injuries. Like, I'm high on the Ravens this year. I'm very high on the Ravens. this year. And like the Ravens weighted DVOA last year, ended at 24th because they just ran out of gas. Like with Lamar's injury, the running backs injuries, their secondary injuries just took its toll, and they eventually just ran out of steam. And if I'll play devil's advocate against myself, the argument for the Bengals is, well, Joe Burrow was coming off of a shredded knee, and he was less than 1 year recovery from that shredded knee. And look how good he did to end the season. So I get it. I do get it. I just I think the Bengals are in for a Super Bowl hangover and a little bit of a disappointing year coming off of the Super Bowl. So I'm going with the Ravens official pick. Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, since we're talking official picks for AFC North, no surprise. We've already talked about in some prior episodes. I'm still rolling with the Ravens, and if anything, the more and more research I do, the more confident I actually even feel in it. The only thing I'm going to add, Matt, I think summarized it very well, is interestingly, even when, and I found this, I can't remember exactly where, but I want, if I could, I'd give credit to the Ravens in their final 6 games. They lost their bunch of the games and finished 8-9, but the losing margin in 5 of those 6 losses was 1-2-1-1-3. So even when they were that saddled with injuries, they don't even have Lamar. With what they have and with their coaches and their schemes and their discipline, like they almost won 5 out of those 6 losses.
There was 2 games where they lost by 1 and they scored a touchdown to tie it up and went for 2 to take the lead, right? Then that happened in back-to-back weeks. And I do remember that.
So that's how insane that season was for the Ravens. Imagine that.
And without Lamar, that is an insane stat. Yeah.
Right. So now, again, huge if, but let's say they stay healthy. Now what? Right. Now what? So, like you said, playing devil's advocate, my only concern, and it's an obvious one, is there enough offensive weapons? We know if the running backs are healthy and you have Lamar as an extra running back, essentially, it's like you have plenty there for the ground game, but Mark Andrews is a beast. I love that guy. Okay. But then there's a drop off now.
Yeah.
Right? Is Bateman going to be ready to kind of shine and be in that primary role? So that's the only thing, right? That to me, that's the one area. Are the targets going to be open and be available for Lamar to throw to? That's it. So that's the only question mark I have. But that was the only other stat, was that even in that dismal spiral, they almost won most of those games.
Yeah, that's somehow insane. So, yeah, replacing Hollywood is going to be tough.
Sure.
But that's what you hope Bateman can step up. They have some other guys. But yeah, there is definitely the concern. I don't think, obviously, the odds were reflective of this, but it's not nearly as the lock as the AFC East one is. But yeah, I think we're in agreement there.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I agree with you. I think the Bengals are going to be fun. I think the only thing that stands out for them is just, I wonder, my question isn't on the offensive side. They're going to be able to go toe to toe with anyone on scoring. I just wonder on the defensive side, are they going to be a legitimate threat to lock down other elite offenses? And I'm not sure, or are they going to have to resort to, we're just going to have to outgun you and put up 50, upper 40s like every game to basically outscore.
Yeah. I'm also not a huge fan of Zach Taylor. I think he's kind of a not great head coach. Some of his play calling just drove me nuts in the playoffs. It was like every first down he would run the ball. They would they started every drive like 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, and then they already poor Bengals offensive line was just getting shredded because teams knew that they needed to pass, and Burrow had to have a longer drop back. He couldn't do it quick. So I'm part of my reason for fading the Bengals is I'm not a fan of their head coach, of Zach Taylor.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know that they made upgrades on the O-line, but yeah, I don't think you can really upgrade his brain and strategy. So exactly. I agree with you. There were some interesting, questionable calls there, especially in that playoff run. So yeah. Anyways, we can move on, but you're both high on the Ravens this year. Okay, so moving on, guys. And this one might be a brief one here, but AFC South. Okay, we got the Colts, we got the Titans, the Jags, and the Texans. And I'll kick this one off. To me, this one, guys, I wouldn't spend too much time debating. If you're going to throw a divisional winner here, I would just roll with the Colts, guys. If you're going to put that in some parlay, or you're going to parlay divisional winners, I would just roll with the Colts, because in my opinion, it is an upgrade with Matt Ryan there. Just clear cut, guys. Okay. I don't think he's lost a ton of zip on the ball. He's still going to be an above average quarterback. You acquired some pass rushers, to kind of upgrade the pass rush. Look, I think you're going to see a slight regression from the Titans, in my opinion. I don't think the Jags are ready, although I'm actually high, and I think that T-Law has a decent ceiling. I just don't know this is the year. I think this is going to be that first, let's actually give you a real rookie year.
And a real head coach, yeah.
And a real head coach. That I almost view this as his rookie year, okay? And there's still going to be a learning curve. And he's like, oh, this is what an actual coach and an actual scheme is like. And so I think it's going to take time. And as much as I like Davis Mills, I just, the Texans aren't talented enough, guys. Okay, so for me, this one was easy. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. The Colts are a solid team, guys, and they got an upgrade with Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with you. Obviously, a two-team race. We've talked about it a lot, so don't need to drill it home even more. But like just the likability factor going to Matt Ryan from Carson Wentz is huge. Matt Ryan's also just better. He's just a better quarterback. That's really, you don't need to even think about likability. He's just better. One thing I thought was interesting in researching this, the Titans were the 1 seed last year, finished 20th in DVOA. They weren't even the top 16 team in the entire NFL. And I guess how many teams make the playoffs? 14. They weren't even a top 14 team. So pretty like fluky year for them to be the 1 seed. Indy finished 11th. If they didn't totally crap their pants in the last 2 weeks, they would have made the playoffs. They were a dangerous playoff team just because of that run game. Obviously Wentz is like prone to blowing up, but so not only were the Colts better last year, but the Titans, I think, got significantly worse. That losing AJ Brown is massive. Yeah. You cannot overstate that, especially with reports being that Treylon Burks, the person who they essentially traded for him, or traded for Treylon Burks and traded away AJ Brown, has been struggling this year. So they relied on him a ton. And then like Derrick Henry, who he was awful in his return from that foot injury. Obviously he's had a whole off season, so we'll see what he looks like, but some concern there considering the workload he's had. And then the Colts have the 30th easiest strength of schedule. Titans have the 21st easiest. So the 11th hardest. I just think you can get the Colts to win the division at -125 on FanDuel. And that's an absolute McSlam for me. I think that's great. Yeah. -125, I think is great value.
Yeah, I agree. I actually, after we talked about it, I put a full unit on that.
That's what I probably will do as well.
A fun future. Cause I just, again, they're clear cut in my mind. So I'd say that's a relatively safe one. So
yeah. All right. So save the best for last.
Yeah. So we kind of zoom through that, guys, because honestly, maybe minus if you're really high on the Bengals or high on the Dolphins, there really wasn't too much debate there, in my opinion. And who knows how the season will play out. But this one, even from a theoretical perspective, I see the AFC West. This is going to be a bloodbath, guys. I don't know how else to say it. This is a tough one to call. We're talking Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, just stud quarterbacks. And I don't care what people say. Carr is a good quarterback, guys. Okay, so these are good QBs. This is a tough one to call, especially in my opinion. Yes, I think you can make an argument about the Raiders not being in those top 3 potentially. I debate that, honestly, but this is a tough one. So, what, Matt, I'll let you kick this one off. Who are you rolling with here? I'm very interested to see. I wanted to see who you're going to pick as your kind of top pick, and then your kind of maybe surprise or second backup pick on this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. I think you can make a legitimate non-devil's advocate, non-stretch argument for all 4 teams. The Chiefs are obvious. I mean, Patrick Mahomes plus Andy Reid equals wins. The Chargers could legitimately have the best offense in the entire NFL. They're that good. Justin Herbert's that good. Their skill positions are that good. Their offensive line is good. And their defense, which we've talked about, was 26th in DVOA last year. Yeah. Bad defense. They traded for Khalil Mack. They signed J.C. Jackson. The defense has always been talented. They've just been so snake bitten with injuries. Derwin James can't stay healthy. Yeah. Joey Bosa has been unable to stay healthy, but just from a talent perspective, good defense, good head coach. I like Brandon Staley. Mm-hmm. I've talked about the Raiders a lot on this show before, but I'm high on them relative to the general public. They have a solid roster, like you said, top to bottom. Carr's a good quarterback. I would probably say they have the best skill positions in the NFL. If I just without looking at every team and really digging into it, I would probably put the Raiders at number one, just in terms of the different types of skill positions they have. Like Renfro, Waller, and Adams can all win in different ways. And that's just a really good team. And then like Josh Jacobs is not a bad running back. Kenyon Drake is not a bad running back. I will say the offensive line, if there is something that will hold the Raiders back, it's probably the offensive line. 29th ranked offensive line according to PFF in the NFL.
Yeah.
So not good there. They do have some young players. So if they can step up, if it could just be average, I think would be huge. And then the Broncos, I mean, you don't need Russell Wilson, talented defense, talented skill positions, a city and a team that's just been dying for a good quarterback since even Peyton, considering even when you consider Peyton's last year for good quarterback play. I mean, they could legitimately be Super Bowl contenders. So doing the research I did on Mahomes kind of led me towards the Chiefs. But if I had to grade it, I would say Chiefs like 1A, Chargers 1B. I think the Chargers they could be the 1 seed. They're that good. They could legitimately be the 1 seed. So I really struggled with this. I might change my mind by tomorrow, but I can't bet against the Chiefs. So they'll be my official pick, with the Chargers being my very close runner up.
Oh man. So it's funny because I think, in our prior episode, everything that you kind of went on about the Chargers, and the more I kind of did research for this week's episode, I actually leaned, and I'm going to take the Chargers as kind of, again, it's like very slim, but 1A, 1B, like I'm going to roll with the Chargers. For all the reasons you said. I'm not going to repeat it. Basically, like 12th in DVOA, 11th in weighted DVOA, 15-point differentials in there. I mean, it's like their offense is so potent, right? And then again, we're stating the obvious, but I do think they made enough upgrades to just kind of solidify the defense, and hopefully some of that like veteran leadership can just kind of raise the performance level and just the cohesiveness a little bit more. That, man, I think this might be the year that Herbert, just kind of takes them that next level. And then again, I have it flip-flopped. If I had to pick one as kind of the close top pick, I am just because of the Mahomes and Reed factor and Kelsey, I would roll with the Chiefs as kind of the backup pick. So I just as exciting as it is with Russell and let Russ cook, and what is it now? Broncos country. What is it now? What's that weird cowboy thing?
I don't know, honestly. I must have missed this on social media. I haven't seen it.
It's just this is like Broncos country. Let's ride. Like that's like the
the new. Oh, okay.
Like the cheesy.
I love Russell Wilson, the quarterback. I cannot stand him. He's so cheesy. He's so cheesy. He's so awkward. The unlimited thing, like, legitimately made me uncomfortable. Like, I feel like I was watching The Office for the first time with like some of just how cringe it was. So I did see that. I just my brain just
probably just deleted it because it's
right
useless.
Out. Yeah,
let's ride just over and over. So I think they might need this year to just kind of figure it out. That I'm gonna roll Chargers. I'm gonna roll Chiefs. But like I said, I mean, I agree with Matt. I think you can make an argument for any of these guys, and it's the luck of the draw. I mean, the injuries, all this stuff, and who wins in the division and who wins outside. It's going to be tough, but this is the toughest call. But I'm going to roll Chargers as well. Chargers as mine, flip flop with Matt's picks, basically.
Yeah. What I did find interesting is that the betting markets consider the Chiefs pretty heavy favorites. They're plus 155. Then this is all looking at FanDuel, and the Chargers are plus 240. So they think that the Chiefs are like wider ahead than. Like if you look at other races, like they have the Ravens and the Bengals nip and tuck, one plus 160, plus 180.
Makes
sense. They have Colts minus 125, Titans plus 170. But then they have plus 155 and plus 240. So like what's that, 85-cent difference? I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't have as much confidence, but I think there's value there on the Chargers.
I agree.
So
I agree.
So
yeah,
not as high confidence as some of the other divisions, but I think because of the value, and I could see it happening. I think there's value there for sure. So
yeah, I mean, if I were to place a bet I probably wouldn't place my bet on the Chiefs because I don't think the value is there at plus 155. Yeah. I think that, I mean, the Raiders at plus 700, sprinkle a quarter of a unit on that one. Sure. I think is a solid play.
Sure. Okay. All right. So any other comments just about the divisional winners, any other dark horses, surprises before we move on to some of our best bets for today?
No, that's it. I think, I mean, the AFC compared to the NFC is absolute gauntlet. I mean, there's like 7 teams in the AFC who would be a top 2 seed in the NFC, I would guess.
Yeah. I think if we did an NFC episode, it would just be more of who's not going to be garbage. And
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Won't be nearly as fun.
All right, guys. So moving on to some of our best bets kind of going into this weekend. I just have one for today, and it's one that I feel pretty decent and strong about. We've been having some luck with some of the UFC picks we've been doing. For those of you, this wasn't on our podcast episode, but if you followed me on Twitter at Parlay Doc, this past UFC event this weekend, I hit on, I think one parlay I missed on a straight bet, and then randomly I did say it, and I said Marlon Chito Vera. I said sprinkle on rounds 3, 4, and 5, and kind of divided equally, and we got Marlon Vera, who won in round 4 for plus 2,000, guys. So, give me a follow there, Parlay Doc on Twitter. So for this weekend's my best bet for our Sweat the Bet podcast, I'm going to roll with a UFC bet. It's going to be a parlay. It's going to be Paulo Costa. Take him to win by knockout, TKO. It's around minus 160-ish, and then parlay that with Kamaru Usman money line. So Usman just to win, and Paulo Costa KO or TKO, and then that will come out to plus 103 on FanDuel. Okay, here's my reason why, real quick. Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold. Peak Luke Rockhold versus peak Paulo Costa. Rockhold is a better fighter. Okay, he's more talented, more skilled. But this is not peak Luke Rockhold. Okay, he's kind of at the tail end of his career. For those of you who've been following UFC, this is the guy who beat like Michael Bisping. So he goes way back. Now he's 37, 38. So he's got 5-6 years on Costa. He hasn't fought in like 3 years, guys. Okay, he's been. He took like a layoff of a couple years. So he has a suspect chin. He has a suspect striking defense. Go take a look at the Yoel Romero fight, guys. Okay, Romero is a beast. I'm not taking away from that. He's like a barbarian. You should go Google. I know you don't follow UFC. Go Google Yoel, Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero. Go take a look at him, Matt, as I'm speaking right now.
Oh, well, I'm doing it right now.
He is a beast, but he is not a good technical striker, guys. And go watch that fight with Rockhold. He basically just throws a jab and then a hook and just nails Rockhold. Literally, it wasn't even set up well. And that's what's been happening to Rockhold. Knockout after knockout after knockout. So Costa, even though he's got like 5 or 6 inches of reach on Costa, and he should utilize that to his advantage. He has a couple inches height. You basically have to have Costa eat shots to go in, to be willing to get hurt, to hit you, and then punch upwards at you. But the same thing with Romero. He was taller, had huge reach on Romero, and he didn't utilize that to his advantage. And now you tack on a few years of age, a few years of head injuries from knockouts, and multiple long time not even being in the cage. Man, it's hard, man. I would have to roll a Costa to knock him out. And Usman has just way more paths to victory than Edwards, who would have to win with technical, clean striking. Usman could win with a knockout. He could win by boring wrestling and laying on top. So I see Usman has a clear path to victory. Costa for knockout, plus 103 parlayed, guys.
I like it. I have a 1 WNBA bet, or I guess two bets, same game tomorrow. A WNBA playoff start tomorrow. So we got 2 games tomorrow, 2 games Thursday. My absolute favorite bet of the entire slate as of right now is the Las Vegas Aces first half spread against the Phoenix Mercury tomorrow. Minus 8.5. You can get that at plus 100 on BetMGM. I think that's solid value. Nice. Aces, number 1 seed for a reason. Incredible. They play at the fastest pace in the league, going against a Mercury team who has, despite being in the playoffs, has the 2nd worst net rating in the entire WNBA away. They stink away. They're actually closer to the worst team than they are to the 3rd worst. So getting the Aces, I think 8.5 will scare off a lot of people because it's a lot of points in the first half. But I do worry about a full game backdoor cover. I like if I had to guess, aces minus 13.5 would be a play also on BetMGM.
Okay.
But the first half spread, I think is an absolute McSlam. I think I put a full unit on that one. I think is an awesome play.
Nice. Cool.
But that's going to be it. Yeah, just the one WNBA bet for tomorrow. MLB, I'm good. I've had enough baseball for one season. So I'm focusing on football futures, focusing on WNBA.
Gotcha. All right. So we got a WNBA bet. We got a UFC parlay. So look, guys, thank you for joining in, and especially for you early supporters of this kind of new independent YouTube landing page. For those of you who've already been following us here on our podcast, all of the above, we appreciate all of you. Send in your comments, send in some mailbag questions again. And again, check out our sponsors, oddsjam.com. Give them a trial. Let us know if you have questions about OddsJam. We're happy to answer. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, support us, and join us next week for another episode of Sweat the Bet, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.